Hey there, it's Julie Hutchison here from Think, Be, Do Leadership. And today I want to talk about how sometimes it is so hard when you are the owner, the boss, the leader in an organization where you need to make decisions, but you don't really have anybody to bounce those ideas off, or maybe you feel like, oh, it's all down to me and I have no one to speak to about it. And that can be really difficult, and it can be debilitating sometimes because you get stuck, don't you? And you're like, oh, should I? Shouldn't I? I don't know if I do. I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I should. But I really think that would be great for my business, and all of those things. And the problem is that we can think logically about the decision that we need to make, but actually it's not always logic behind some of the decisions that we do make, or it's not logic, some of the things that stop us from taking action or making the decision that we want to make. So actually we need a different way, a simple way, but a different way to look upon how we make a decision, to get underneath some of the, dare I say, crap that we tell ourselves when we're making these decisions, to realize that have we made this emotionally? Am I holding myself back from making a good decision? Is it the right decision? And does somebody need to tell me that don't do this? So you actually need to look from different perspectives. And what I want to talk about today is the way in which actually there's a really good way of doing that will help you uncover kind of what's going on underneath your decision making. Now, you can have somebody else do this with you, or you can do it yourself. Simple 4 questions that we ask, called Cartesian questions. And it just makes our brain flip around the things that we're doing. So if you are watching this live, then brilliant. Feel free to pop your comments in, and we will answer those questions if we can. But have you ever, if you're watching this live, have you ever felt like that, where you're just like, oh, it's down to me, and I'm telling myself one thing, but I logically know I should be doing something, or I don't know why I'm not moving forward on this. I know I should, but I don't seem to be able to. And it happens. If you're watching it on replay, then feel free. I will check through and make sure that if you're watching it on replay, that I still see your comments. So the question is then, what do I do? Because if I'm here and it's my business and it's all down to me, it's a big thing. So there's much going on in our heads and our hearts to help us and hinder us from making the right decision or a good decision. And I want to think about a specific decision today, just to give an example. And I'm thinking, is my business is doing well. I need to grow, but I'm used to doing everything myself, and I now need to take on staff. I need to let go. And I know I need to take on staff, but I just don't seem to get there. Why don't I get there? Or I just don't seem to make that decision. Why is that? So then maybe the answer is, well, maybe I should stay the same size because I don't want to grow. And so what we need to look at is, how do we think about that so that we can make a good decision? Okay, I want to share my screen. Hopefully today I shall be able to do that. Oh, and that's the dog barking. Hold on a second. So let's share my screen while the dog barks, because somebody just knocked on the door. Here we go. Okay, the joys of working from home, hey? So Cartesian questions. The first question, it might be something really obvious to you that you think, well, that's pretty normal. The first question that we are going to ask is, what would happen if you did make that change? Okay, simple. So what would happen if you did grow your business? What would happen if you took on staff in your business? Well, if I took on staff, then I can grow my business. I've got more people to do the work, you might answer. Yeah, but hold on a second, but maybe I need to let go. Maybe I now need to be able to step back. Okay, so I would be able to step back. I would be able to let go and let somebody else take that responsibility of making the widget, for example. Yeah. So we want to ask that question, and that's a pretty normal question to ask. You might think, yeah, well, I already do that. Cool. But then we want to ask, well, what would happen if you didn't make that change? So what would happen if you didn't take on the staff? What would happen if you didn't grow your business? Well, if I don't grow my business, then I'm not going to make any more money. I could be at risk of stagnating. I'm still going to be the one doing it. If I don't take on staff, then I'm going to be one sitting here doing all the work, and I'm going to be more overwhelmed. I'm still not going to get any holidays, for example. I think you've been there before. And therefore, I'm looking at it from the point of view of what happens if I don't do it. Okay. But that's not where the magic happens, because again, you might say, well, yeah, I can do that. Pros and cons, shall I or shan't I? Okay. But now what we want to do is we want to ask this other question. This is where your brain gets a little bit like, oh, okay. And that's what we want to do with our brain, which is, what wouldn't happen if you did make that change? You think, what does that mean? What wouldn't happen if I did make the change? So we're looking at from a completely different perspective, what wouldn't happen if you did make that change? Okay, well, what wouldn't happen if I did do it? Well, I wouldn't have to be the one who does everything all the time, and I wouldn't have to be the only person in my business. So that's a good thing. And what wouldn't happen if I did make that change? Well, I wouldn't earn as much money out of my business straight away, because I'd have to pay people. Okay, so I wouldn't be as profitable in the short run if I did make that change. Okay, right. And now this final question, which is a bit mind-bending, which is, what wouldn't happen if you didn't make the change? Okay, so what wouldn't happen if you didn't make the change? Well, if I didn't bring new people into my business, if I didn't grow, then, well, I wouldn't grow. I'd stay where I am, but equally, I wouldn't have to let go of my control of the business. I wouldn't have to give away being and stop being the technical expert in my business. I wouldn't have to learn to be a better leader if I didn't make that change. And now I want you to think about that, because this question often, it's not just the opposite of one of those questions. It often starts to elicit the real reason why you're stuck and why you don't want to do something. Because if it comes out, well, if I don't do this, then I don't have to let go of the control in my business. If I don't do this, I don't have to become the leader. If I don't do this, I can still carry on where I am. Then we start to uncover some of the reasons why I'm making this decision emotionally. And I think that's brilliant, because if we know what comes out at that point, what wouldn't happen? Well, I wouldn't have to do this, and I don't have to grow and myself. I don't have to grow as a leader. I can just carry on being a great, accountant. I can carry on being a great plumber. I can carry on being a great, I don't know now, let's think, hairdresser, for example, whichever one. So if I didn't do anything about it, it means I don't have to grow. And so what we see here is that actually there's an excuse underlying this of, well, I don't really want to grow and I don't really want to change, so it's easier for me not to do it. And so you can see now, you've got to ask yourself the question, is that what I really want? Because if your emotional self is telling you, well, actually, Julie, you don't want to do this because you're going to have to change if your business grows, then this can be a driver for making no decision whatsoever. So asking yourself these questions, and particularly that last question, will uncover some of the reasons potentially why you're holding yourself back. So it's a bit freaky, and it's easier if you get somebody else to do it for you. And I was doing this with a lovely guy called Stuart the other day, and we freaked his mind for a bit, and then he really started to understand what was holding him back when he was having to grow his business, because he wanted to grow, but not too much, because he doesn't want to be too busy. He doesn't want to grow because he was like, oh, actually, I feel like I'm going to be busy. So if I don't grow, I won't have to be busy. So when we uncovered that belief, we were able to then say, well, how do we do it without having to be more busy? So you see, what we do is we uncover a path forwards, not just to make the decision in the first place. So that freaked your mind for a Friday afternoon, probably. If you have a comment, please feel free to pop it in. I'm going to stop sharing the screen for a second. Hold on. But the reason why this is so important is because when you're on your own in your business, or you're the boss, if there's nobody there to do this thinking with you or for you or around you, there's no one to challenge you. You kind of just go on in the way you do because you're on your own. And so many business owners struggle with being on their own. They don't have somebody that they can turn to and ask the daftest of questions and just get some reassurance or bounce an idea off or be challenged on what they need to make a decision on. And which means that you're kind of like in this tumbleweed moment where it doesn't really matter whether you do, you don't, or you are, you aren't, because nobody's going to challenge it. And therefore you need something, you need someone to challenge and support you in making those decisions as well. And that's why on the Leaders Launchpad, we look at how do you challenge the leader in the business and how do you grow the leader in the business so that they actually can make good decisions and have someone to bounce those ideas off of. And if you would like to find out more about how to get that support, then you can message me. I was going to say you can find out about our Leaders Launchpad program in the chat box there. There you go. Because that's the way to grow. The way to grow is to have somebody who can ask the right questions of you, who can challenge and support you, and be somebody who you can trust not to tell the rest of the team what you're thinking, because it isn't always easy when you're at the top. So guys, if you're interested, find out more about the Leaders Launchpad. I've put it in the chat there. In the meantime, what you can do is join the Facebook group as well. Hang on, let me get the link for the Facebook group. Oh, I can't find it now. Hang on a second. Because in the Facebook group, it's a free group. You can join there and there are more tips and hints for becoming the leader in your business. There you go. I've just popped it in. Becoming the leader in your business so that you can grow your business. Because what we know is that when it's you, your business won't grow unless you grow so that your team can grow so that the business can grow. Okay, I'm going to leave you with that for Friday afternoon. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Message me or add a comment here or message me if you would like to privately, and we will get you set up with some support to help you make those decisions that you need in your business. Become the leader that you need to be. It's Julie from Think, Be, Do Leadership. Have a great afternoon. Take care.